Hi, Cheryl. Welcome to our show, and thank you for coming on and doing this interview with me. And I'm excited what we're going to be talking about today, our adolescents and ADHD and how to cope and how to help our kids. So I want to start out and just have you tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I'm happy to be here. I help parents stay sane, create calm, and motivate their kids. And I'm a parent who's been there too. I have 3 grown kids with ADHD, learning disabilities, and anxiety. And I was stressed, overwhelmed, and frustrated, and at the end of my rope. And I believe that as an ADHD parent coach, that parents hold the key to managing their complex kids. So I'm committed to helping parents who've been there because I've been there myself and I want to support them.
You've lived through it, because you've experienced it firsthand.
I have.
Well, I know when I met you just a month ago, we really connected because I too have ADHD kids. And through finding out that they had ADHD, I discovered I had it too. So
that's very common.
Yeah. And so it was just great talking to you and connecting and hearing the similarities that we shared and how we're passionate helping parents.
Yeah.
Why don't we start off and talk about when parents come to you, what do you find that they're feeling?
A lot of parents just feel very overwhelmed and frustrated. They feel like they're constantly in crisis mode. They're anxious about their child's future. And they feel like they've tried things before, but nothing seems to stick. And they feel like they don't have time to take care of themselves, and they're judging themselves for their bad parenting and because of their child's poor behavior. And as you said, they often, because ADHD tends to be genetic, they often see their own characteristics, their child's characteristics in themselves, and they start to say to themselves, well, how can I manage my child if I can't even manage myself?
Yes.
So there's a lot of that judgment there.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the signs that parents should be looking for? Maybe somebody's listening and they don't know for sure if their child has ADHD.
Okay, so there's something called the DSM-5, which is a diagnostic and statistical manual. There's the 5th version, which is a Bible of the ADHD umbrella. It's called ADHD, even though somebody might not have the H, which is the hyperactivity. So there's 2 kinds. There's the inattentive and the hyperactive, and then you could have the combined. So the inattentive would be somebody who's bored easily, who daydreams, who may have trouble starting on a task, or who may have trouble completing tasks, or picking up on details, following through with directions. And what can come along with that is a slower processing. Someone who's hyperactive could maybe be a big fidgeter or impulsive, that child who's bouncing off the walls in the classroom, or there can be the combined type, who's having a little of both. And then and with girls, there is often the inattentive, not always. And so that sometimes doesn't get diagnosed until school becomes more demanding. And then I also want to mention that with adults, that hyperactive it looks a little different. So it's not that adult, we rarely see that adult bouncing off the walls. It's usually someone who needs to fidget during a meeting, or who has trouble sleeping and may get their second wind until 2 in the morning and then tends to burn the candle at both ends.
I know for myself, sitting in a long meeting with a lot of details is very overwhelming.
Yeah.
I just want to get up and run.
I don't blame you. So do I, though.
If you suspect that your child has ADHD, where should you start?
What I usually tell parents is to understand that it all starts with the brain, because then you could really shift to a position of problem solving. Because I often have a parent that will tell me, my child is so smart, how can he be so disorganized? And we need to understand that it all starts with the brain, because it's different parts of the brain that when the planning and the organization and the management, even managing of emotions, that's all the front part of the brain. But the thinking part of the brain is a different part. So when we understand that where our child is having the difficulty, is it with starting a task or staying on task or completing a task, then we can figure out strategies for activating the brain and help our child.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that can help with all these different areas is how to motivate the ADHD brain.
That's a huge thing, how to motivate our kids. Do you find that parents come to you and they feel like their kid is lazy? And so just understanding that this is a brain thing, and really it's not them being lazy, but it's them struggling to activate that part of the brain is
absolutely
helpful to know that they really cannot help it. They need help. They need strategies and tools to deal with this.
Yeah. We've even had teachers tell us that our kid was lazy and that he was forgetting on purpose. And really what it is our kids just don't have a get it done button. They have a barbed wire fence around to-do lists unless they're really interested in something. I use an acronym called PINCH that helps parents with ways to motivate their kids. The P would be for play. So play or humor or games, anything involving something fun would be a motivator for our kids. So something, a game to get them interested in doing something or as a reward.
I love that.
The I would be something they're interested in. So they're interested in a sport. Anything to do with that sport can also help them get involved in a certain task. The I is novelty. So if they're trying to study, I know it's good to have a consistent study area, but they have a new pencil or a new notebook, or even just shifting their environment could be a novel, and it's a novel place. It's something new and it's exciting, and so it's interesting and it gets them motivated.
Could that be like just going and switching up where you're even studying, going outside or?
Right, or even a new way, like here's some cool flashcards or just something different.
Fresh.
Can be exactly. The C is, I like to think of connection. Like if a kid likes to go to school, they have friends, they have a group of kids after school that they like to engage with. They have a special teacher that really gets them, That can be a really good motivator. Just having that special connection at school can really keep them there and really help them want to go to school. And then H is hurry up. So anything with deadlines, but light deadlines, not a stressing kind of a deadline, but a timer, or if they have a big project, just putting little deadlines to help them so that they don't get overwhelmed and not even want to start on the project. And so the important thing is to create motivators that are easy for you to implement and help your kid understand what motivates him. And then also to make sure they're timely if you're using the motivator as a reward.
Okay, now say more about it being timely.
So you want to make sure that if it's a reward, that it's not like, well, next week we're going to go to the hockey game as a reward, or we'll go play soccer together. It needs to be like soon after the task is complete if you're using it as a reward. I would say if you can't do it that day and your son agrees that could be tomorrow, that's okay, but I wouldn't make it too far in advance where they've already lost the connection to the reward. You want to make it so that they feel that connection to what they've done. And it's too far away, they're going to forget the connection. They're not going to feel that it was related to what they just did.
Okay, that makes total sense, to have it be one of those things that right away they reinforce that they made a good choice and that positive things come out of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like the way you worded that.
Yeah. I know that you have some things that will help us you talked about how it can really be overwhelming and frustrating. And I think there's 5 strategies, tips that you share that I really thought were good. Your number 1 really hit a chord with me.
The one that I always start with parents is to focus on your relationship with your kids. So often, this was typical of what I did, is I was a parent that wanted to get things done. And I wanted to minimize the piles of things that had to get done with my kids. I wanted to create independence and responsibility. So I was the one with the stars and the charts and the rewards. And they're difficult to stick with. And so the behaviors don't change and everyone gets frustrated. I become the drill sergeant, the voice hammering away, and I realized that something needed to change. And one day I was picking up my kid from school and we were in the line in middle school and I was pumping him away with questions. Do you have your books? Do you have your assignments? Do you have your notes? Do you know what you need to get done? And he said to me, Mom, you're always asking me about my homework and you're never asking me about me.
Yeah.
And I realized I needed to change something here. And it's just, we have our kids to be in a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to have that relationship and to let go of the short-term complications so we can have that long-term relationship. So it changed my tune. And I realized that I needed to look for those opportunities to have conversations and ask open-ended questions that begin with what. So they can't just say no or yes or nothing or something. And just try to engage with them. And I found that when we have these relationships with them, everything becomes so much easier. They're more open to do things, but more importantly, that's when they come to us for that guidance and support that they so need.
I love that.
On the relationship.
I love that. I find that with ADHD kids, they already feel like they're really struggling because they have a learning difference. And so that self-esteem can already be low. And then if we're badgering them and nagging them, and it becomes this negative relationship rather than what you're talking about, to not have it be all that nagging and reminding. And it's hard to know how to handle it.
We pick our kids up from school or they come home, and especially in that tween and teen area, they give us the eye roll, they're disrespectful, they're that's kind of their job, right? I mean, they're going to be that way. That's teens.
Yes.
And so we're thinking, well, what do we ever do to them? Well, here we are, we're doing the best we can. And why can't they just be respectful? Why can't they just listen? Why can't they remember their homework or whatever it is? And what's helpful is if we can try to be curious and change our questioning. I wonder why they can't. I wonder what's going on with them. I wonder what's going on with them at school. I wonder what's going on with them at home. I wonder what's going on with their friends. I wonder what's going on with me. I wonder why they can't. And to try to be curious, it shifts us more to a position of problem solving. And it helps us not take it personally, because 9 times out of 10, it's not about us. That's something going on with them. And if they feel like it, they'll come to us and just let us know. And if not, that's okay too. And they're allowed.
Maybe they had a really hard day. And just being more understanding and less judgmental is what I think about too.
Yeah, and that was the next thing. So thank you for reminding me.
Sure.
Because we tend to be so judgmental of ourselves and of our kids, but especially of ourselves, because we tend to think that we're being bad parents and we may be in a public place and our kids having a meltdown, if we're having a younger child, or maybe even our older child may lash out at us in a restaurant. That's happened to me. And
so embarrassing.
Whatever. So we need to just try to take a neutral position and just say to ourselves, we're not going to be able to fix everything at once. We need to take the marathon view that this is going to happen over the long term. It's not a sprint, and stay neutral and understand that we're working on this. And even if we're in a place that somebody says something to us, so we could just say, we're working on it, or we're not working on that. If we want to, if we feel like we really want to respond to somebody and just be, hold our ground, or we can just say that to ourselves. The other thing is we tend to should on ourselves a lot. Like, he should be able to do that. He did it at camp. He should do it at home. And then it gets us into that judgy place again, judging our kid, judging ourselves. And I like to tell parents to take the 3 to 5 year challenge. And that is, our kids tend to be 3 to 5 years behind their chronological peers in many areas. So if we take their age and subtract 3 to 5 years, we can ask ourselves, is what we're asking them to do reasonable?
Yeah.
And then we can say, okay, that can also help us be less judgmental, and then figure out how we can support them, and then gradually take away that support as they're ready.
Yeah. The word that comes to me is kindness, like being kind to ourselves too in this whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I was so hard on myself, and still can be as moms, dads. We can be really, I think especially the moms, we can be so hard on ourselves, or we're failing, and that our kid is struggling, we're failing, we're doing something wrong.
Right.
Yes, and that just feeds our anxiety. And I know you're going to talk about triggers with us too.
Right. Yeah. So we all do still get triggered and anxious and upset. We need to help ourselves manage that, because not only to help ourselves, but once we can manage our own triggers, then we can also help our kids. But the first step is to recognize what's going on with ourselves. So when I was talking about the brain, one thing that's helpful is to understand what's going on with our brains when we get triggered. So there's this part of our brain called the amygdala, which sits in the emotional kind of area of our brain. I call it the bully of our brain, because when we get triggered, what happens is it literally takes over our brain and floods everything in our brain. It floods our executive functioning. It floods that planning section, that organization, that place where we manage our emotions. That's where our kids are having their meltdowns. And we just also, that's when we are in that kind of spinning place too, when we're really overwhelmed and we're reverting to old habits and we really are having trouble functioning. Mm-hmm. So the first, I have this trigger exercise that
which our listeners are going to get when they sign up. I love it. It's a great handout. Thank you for that. The moms will really find that helpful.
So the first part of this is to recognize when you are getting triggered and figuring out, like, what is it that's triggering me and how can I manage this? So the first part is, again, recognizing that you're getting triggered, and you can feel it in your body. So you might feel like your heart racing, or you're sweaty, or you're getting a stomach ache, or feeling anxious. The other thing is, what is it that makes you yell a lot? Like, a lot of people get really stressed, for example, when they're late and they're rushing. So we can use that as an example. So how am I getting triggered? The next part after that is you want to reclaim your brain and experiment with ways to calm yourself down rather than reacting. So you can take a few breaths, take a drink of water, remove yourself from the situation. You can also put language to it and tell your kids or family, I need to take a few minutes. And that's a really good way to model what you need to do. Some people use code words, like we have a code word in our family named to take a Thor moment. You know, this little dog is named Thor. He's really growly. And so other people, Thor moment. And other people say other things, but it's just a real family bonding thing too, because you can help each other recognize when you're having a trigger moment, and it can be kind of fun, like, hey, Thor moment or whatever. But so it just kind of helps each other recognize when you're having a trigger time. So the next thing you want to do after you've reclaimed yourself is you want to say to yourself, what kind of story am I telling myself? So what is that monster or gremlin sitting on my shoulder? Like, how can they be disrespecting my time? I can't believe my kid is late again. I'm going to be late. My kid's going to get a detention. Like, all these negative thoughts that are going in your head.
They're never going to be able to get a job, or We force
Yeah, right.
right? They're never going to be
You're exactly.
successful.
All this
Never,
catastrophizing.
always. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can say to ourselves, well, what's a more supportive story? I
Ah,
wonder what's going on with my kid. I need to calm down. I need to problem solve. It's okay. He's going to be late. What can we do from here? This is something we're working on. So this is a way to just kind of regroup and strategize, and then you can model it with your kids. You can even say your more supportive story out loud. And it's a really great way to help your child regroup as well. I just love this. It's really helpful to me, and I hope it will be helpful to other parents as well.
oh yes. So what I hear you saying is including saying it out loud in the process.
Yeah,
Like,
you
okay,
can.
it's because I'll use that with my daughter where we're
Mhm.
running late. She's freaking out about something, or let's say she lost her book and she can't find it. And I notice that's a trigger point for me because I'm starting to get really anxious as well. So then I can erupt in a freak out moment too. And,
Right.
but then I will say something like, okay, it's just your book. You're going to find another way to deal with it. It's okay. Like, or if your kid forgets their soccer cleats, for example, and you're 2 hours away, okay, you're going to figure out what you need to do when you get there. Doing that self-talk out loud to ourselves, it's
Right.
going to calm us down, and then it's going to help our kids.
Because what you're doing is you're modeling problem solving. You're thinking through out loud how to problem solve rather than freaking out. Oh my God, I can't believe you forgot your soccer
Yeah.
cleats. What are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're moving through into problem solving mode out loud, and you're modeling that. And that's exactly a really great way to do that because you're showing your daughter how to do that. So
Yes.
it's taking the trigger exercise a step further
Mm-hmm.
and modeling out loud and putting language to it. And I think it's really important to put language to that all the time.
And I've really had great success with that because she'll text me and say, Mom, it worked out. I went and I talked to my teacher and he said it's okay just to send him the paper when I get home. And she's learned it's not as bad as she thinks it's going to be.
Right, right. That's excellent.
And it's helping them to know that they have what it takes to cope.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we believe in them, that it's gonna all be okay.
Yeah.
Which is what we need. It's all
really need
okay.
to do that. It's really important that we show them that we know that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or I'm thinking sometimes I'll say, okay, I'm freaking out right now. I'm really feeling anxious, but I know this is going to be okay.
Well, that's part of that. You're doing the last step. You're taking that gremlin story into the supportive story, and you're taking it out loud. And it's really important to model that for our kids, that we can show them that this is something that they can do too, and process through that, especially for the people that are verbal processors that think out loud. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I love too you using that code word, Thor, because it's also sending the message to your kids that we don't all have it figured out. None of us are perfect. We all have these moments.
Right. It also tends to add, when we have a word, it tends to add a little bit of humor to it. When we're all kind of we're starting to flip out, and then we have a little kind of silly word. It just kind of, it tends to relax everybody, when you have a silly word. It just kind of gets everyone to kind of regroup a little bit.
And being able to give a word to it also, then everybody knows, okay, Mom's having a moment, I'm having a moment too, and it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To have a moment that we need some space and need
that
to
we all do. It's
Yeah.
normal. It's natural. Even mom can have this, and I can too. And
do you find, it seems to me that working with moms, that we tend to tell ourselves that we're the only ones that are struggling with this. and that we
Yeah,
have this
absolutely.
figured
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
then when moms come together and they hear other moms, they realize they're not the only ones that's kid is a slob or is forgetting their books or not doing their
Right.
homework or doesn't seem to care. And
A lot of us feel like we're the only ones. And then we see in the community that we're not alone in this, that there's a lot of us are struggling. We may be struggling with a few different things, but we're all having similar situations
yeah.
and similar emotions about different things.
Did you want to add anything else about the triggers?
I wanted to go on about how we can actually help ourselves take care of ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, because like you said, a lot of us parents feel like we're alone. And one way that to help us take care of ourselves is that we need to remember that we need to take care of ourselves. I tell parents that we need to put on our own oxygen mask, just like when we're in the airplane, right? We have to put on our oxygen before we can put on our kids. And this is really hard to do because we're so focused on taking care of our kids that we don't often make the time to take care of ourselves. But I'm really not talking about like this huge exercise regimen or something. I'm just talking about taking the time during the day to take some breaths, to walk outside during your workday, to take a glass of water, to have lunch, to order in if you need to, you know? You have your lunch? Oh, you're water.
I'm going to drink my water. I forget to drink water.
Yeah.
So simple.
Just like take those little things to take care of yourself. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't be in a position to take care of our kids. And thing that I also tell parents is that if it's hard to do that, remember that your kids are the paparazzi. They are watching you. And if anything, they will internalize that modeling. So put on your own oxygen mask.
And if we're not taking care of ourselves, what do you see are some of the symptoms of that?
We're run down. We're exhausted. We are stressed. And we're just, like I was saying at the beginning, at the end of our ropes, we just don't have any reserves. Yeah. We have nothing left. At the end of the day, we don't have anything for our kids or any other parts of our lives. And it just, everybody needs that.
That we're helping our kids by taking care of ourselves and putting on our oxygen mask first. That we're going to be better parents if we do that.
And like I said, we don't have the time to take an hour to go to the gym or whatever. That's okay. I'm not talking about that. Take a 15-minute walk. Take, just anything that you think is a calming thing for you. Just something to help you feel like you can ground yourself and, close your eyes for 10 minutes. Just anything to give yourself some space.
That a little bit goes a long way. We tend to make it, like you said, this big deal, like we have to go to the gym for an hour, where if we just take that time to just breathe, listen to a meditation. I like meditation apps that'll fill our bucket.
Right. Yeah, you can even put that on in your car on the way to work or anything. Just something that can help you take care of yourself. I like to listen to podcasts. I find, or TED Talks that are inspiring. And I find that those are also for people that don't have a lot of time that can be helpful.
It's kind of like helping those negative voices. I find with podcasts that we have so much negative self-talk that listening to those things that we can be rewiring our brain and helping us to think about more positive things and focus on gratitude or whatever it is. That really helps.
Yeah. Gratitude journals are helpful, even just like writing 3 to 5 things every day that you're grateful for. That doesn't take very much time. Yeah.
Finding what works for you, trying different things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Even talking to a friend can be really helpful.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anything else that you're wanting to share with us? This is so
Yeah. The
great.
last thing I want to tell parents is that kids with ADHD have tons of gifts. They are
Mm,
creative, adventurous, have a great sense of humor, and are entrepreneurial. They think outside the box, and to really let your kids know that they have strengths and gifts. Because so often, as we were talking about, they are told no, or they're wrong, or they're late, or they forgot their homework, and they feel a lot of negative, and they get the feeling that they need to be good at everything, especially in school. And they really are specialists in a generalist world. And when they get to be adults, they get to be specialists. But now they often get these vibes of negativity. And so we need to tell them about their strengths, and we need to let them know.
mhm.
And so we need to hold that vision for them that they have strengths and how they can hold that for themselves. So celebrate their victories, large and small, and play to their strengths.
I love that. And when we're tempted to be focusing on the negatives, to be looking for those things every day that they're doing well, to be keeping our
Mhm.
eyes open to that rather than what they're not doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Find that one thing that you love about them and
Yeah.
let them know it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Cheryl. I want you to tell
Thank
our
you.
listeners where they can find you.
You can find me at SherylSusman.com.
And spell that for them so they, and I'll
Oh,
put it in the email too. I'm with
uh,
an S, you're with a C.
right. Cheryl with a C,
Uh-huh.
CHERYL, SUSMAN, one S in the middle.com.
Okay. Wonderful. And Facebook?
Facebook, Sheryl Susman, ADHD Coaching.
Okay. Wonderful. We'll put it in the comment. Thank you so much. I mean,
Thank you, Cheryl. I so
we
appreciate this. It was so much fun.
thank you for everything you're doing to help moms and their kids, and it's important work.
Thank you.